Staff says her parents. And Kirby graduated, it says here, 30 years ago from the University of Georgia. Welcome to the podium, the head football coach of the University of Georgia, Kirby Smart. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
And let's welcome our Georgia Bulldogs head football coach, Kirby Smart.
That'll be a new experience for me.
Let me tell you something about him. He graduated from the University of Georgia like 30 straight years ago. That's a long time.
Emptying that nest a little bit.
So now let's welcome him on the podium.
One in Athens and then one in Chapel Hill. So I'm proud of both of those young ones. About Greg Sankey, I want to say a couple comments about him first and foremost. I think I've talked before in this setting about the cost of leadership and shared that with many people a couple years ago. I think nobody embodies that any better in this country in terms of college athletics than Greg Sankey. I think in terms of leadership, the role he's taken on for our conference is incredible. He takes sometimes bullets he doesn't deserve. He stands in front of a challenging group between presidents, ADs, and other administrators and football coaches and basketball coaches and a changing landscape, and does an incredible job of holding down the fort, keeping people combined, and has to make really tough decisions for all of us. And we know there's costs with that. I'd like to thank you guys. Thank you for the job you do. An incredible, you guys make this the best conference in the country, probably in the world, when you talk about competitiveness and how our conference is strengthened, and really across all sports. I don't want to isolate that just to football, but the coverage that this room gives our conference makes it really uncomparable to others, and you guys do an incredible job for us. I'm actually excited to be in Tampa. I don't know how everybody else feels about that. I get all these texts from different coaches, but I'm excited to be in Tampa. My mom is from Plant City. I spent my summers in Plant City. If you don't know where that is, it's right down the road. I got to go to Reds spring training, watch Pete Rose when I was a little kid, and see the Reds in spring training. Also go to the Strawberry Festival. So if you don't know, you don't know. And if you know, you do know. The Strawberry Festival is special. And I grew up coming down here for probably 2 weeks out of the summer, and some of the best memories of my childhood are right outside Tampa. So I'm excited for that. I also want to thank our administration. I know everybody brags on their administration, but mine has been completely aligned for quite a long time now. I have an incredible president who is very involved. President Moorhead, if you guys don't know, sits on a lot of committees. He helps try to improve the future of college athletics. He sits in a lot of roles that most presidents don't want to be a part of. I know he cares about athletics, and he cares about the University of Georgia. He's made it into a premier institution with the standards he's created and the rigor he creates academically, and how challenging it is to get into, to be a top 15, top 20 public institution. And then our athletic director, Josh Brooks, has made it one of the best athletic departments in all of the country. We were top 10 in Learfield sports and Learfield Cup, which I know he's proud of. I'm proud of. I am a college sports enthusiast, and I love the University of Georgia, and I love it when our other athletic programs do an incredible job. Commissioner Sankey mentioned the College World Series. Wes Johnson's team, baseball team, to win our conference and be the football and baseball champions of SEC for the first time. One school did that in over 15 to 20 years, whatever it was. It's an incredible feat for us. I'm proud of his staff and all of our athletic department with what they've done. I also want to mention Doris Griffin. She is a superstar in athletics, a rising star, and we've been saying rising star for a while now, so she's a veteran star, and she's senior deputy director, athletic director within our department. She does an incredible job for me. She's there for me during tough times and good times, and really proud of the work she does. So our administration is second to none. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is our staff. Not enough is made about the University of Georgia staff. When people talk about roster retention, I like to talk about staff retention. We have been blessed to retain our staff and stay intact almost completely for 3 to 4 years now. I think that matters. I think the growth, the biggest challenge you have when you retain not only your roster, but your staff, is you have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to experiment, try new things. You can't sit back and just be the same old thing and do the same old things and expect to get the same return. My job as the leader of this organization is to challenge our staff to make sure we're thinking outside the box, make sure we're exploring other alternatives. And I've got a staff that has been just incredible. We got 3 or 4 guys that have been with me for 9 to 11 years. And those guys are the rock and glue that makes our place go. And I support the support our administration gives us to keep them and retain them, because a lot of our guys have had opportunities to go on to other jobs, maybe pro NFL opportunities, and they've chosen to stay at the University of Georgia. That's because of the support we get. It's because of the school systems in our community and the way you can raise a family in our family environment. So I'm proud of that. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our 3 players here. And, you know, one's a returner. It's very rare you get a second SEC Media Days. Gunnar Stockton is doing that. He embodies what leadership is, and he doesn't do it through his mouth. You know, we can't get the guy to talk half the time. But when he gets around the players, they know. They see the toughness he plays with. He embodies our program. Just love everything he stands for. Quick story about Gunnar. We took a leadership group to go whitewater rafting this off season. We went up into North Carolina to go whitewater rafting, and they said, okay, who's going to be at the front of the boat? They explained that this was the most risky position, that you got to get on the front of the boat. You may fall out. When you go over a rapid, you'll be nose down, and you're the first to go down into the water. Obviously had a life jacket. Obviously we made it as safe as we possibly could, but he chose to jump into that seat. And I think that says a lot about who he is. He leads from the front. He takes hits. He embodies everything our program's about in toughness and culture and the love for his university. So I'm glad he's here to share with you guys today and be around you guys. Another young man near and dear to my heart is Raylan Wilson. Raylan Wilson's, and I'll say this, all 3 of our players have graduated, and they all graduated this spring or the previous spring. They're 4 years or longer in our program. And Raylan is from down in, he likes to say Monticello, Florida. Most of you don't know where that is, but I say he's from Tallahassee, but is really where he's born, and his family background is Monticello, Florida. And Raylan has grown up a lot in our program. He started and played a tremendous amount against Alabama 4 years ago in an SEC championship. That was a really tough game for a freshman to start and play in. And now he's a veteran leader. He and a couple other players are the voice of our defense, and I'm proud of what Raylan stands for and how he leads. And then last but not least is Drew Bobo, son of our offensive coordinator. He is tough. He has been through a significant injury, and he is back from that injury. He also embodies the toughness that we want to have within our program. This guy's a position that gets no credit. It's most of the blame when you're at center. Only things can go wrong, and he owns up to it and reflects the University of Georgia in the right way. So we're proud to have those 3 guys here, and I'm certainly proud of those guys and all the guys that are here. We got one of the best leadership teams we've had all along. So a couple accolades this team's coming into at our highest spring GPA we've ever had at an academic school that is one of the toughest in the country. Very proud of our spring work we did as a team and continue to do with that group of men. I think this time in college football, the landscape of college football, that's all the talking heads want to talk about. Everywhere I go, TV, media, everybody wants to talk about the landscape of college football. And it's sad that what's forgotten, what wins games. Maybe that becomes boring, maybe that becomes mundane, but not at our place. I've had questions about the expansion, more SEC games, portal, college and federal legislation to navigate the NIL era we're in, players leaving, coaches leaving. That's all people want to talk about. But what we focus on at Georgia is what wins football games. And that's my passion and energy. That's what we love to do. We love to grind it out, play physical football, be explosive in offense, be explosive in defense by how you create turnovers and what you do to create sacks. But at the end of the day, I don't enjoy talking about all these things that are the landscape of college football. I enjoy talking about what wins and what allows our team to have the best chance. The consistency and performance is probably what I'm most proud of over the last 10 to 11 years, including this season. And the consistency and performance is what Georgia's been built on. Can we repeatedly do and be successful regardless of who comes in and out of your program? This season, like many others, we chose to study a successful brand or team or follow someone. And this year, the reigning NBA champions at the time when we studied them was the OKC Thunder. And they talked about being uncommon and how you can be uncommon in today's world. And our guys took a week-by-week section of being uncommon, believing in the success of others is greater than the success of yourself in a day and age when that's not normal. That is uncommon to be more proud and have a little bit of mudita, we call it, that we enjoy the success of others more than the success of ourselves. And that's what our team and program's built on. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Coach Smart. If you have a question, we have Patrick, Aaron, and Ellie.
Let's see if there's any questions for our head coach
Please give your name and affiliation.
for Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart.
Questions for Coach
So
Smart.
now let's see if anyone got any question for him.
Okay, we'll come up here to our left-hand side, third row on the aisle.
TJ French, WUOG Radio, Athens, Georgia, of course. Who's one player on both sides of the ball that people might not really know about now, but will be a household name in, let's say, mid-October?
Yeah, I wish I knew that too, TJ. If I could answer that, I promise you I would be, well, no, I can't sports wager, but I would be much better off if I knew that. I think that's going to play itself out. I can give you some guys that had really good spring practices and have stepped up and grown. I'm excited to see what some of the young freshmen that played defensively have done. I'm excited to see one of the best playmakers we've had over the last 2 years has been KJ Bolden on defense, and he's done a really good job. I think back to a play he made on the Texas overtime game that people don't talk about, where they ran a cross screen to the back and he came out of the top. One of the most instinctive plays I've seen a player make, and he made that as a true freshman. So I'm excited, and I know that's not your question, because you want guys that aren't household names, and those guys have got to earn it, and you earn it by what you do in the fall, not what you do in the spring. So I'm excited to see those guys grow.
Coach, we'll go to right down the center aisle. Barry.
Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. They'll have my hide in Oklahoma if I don't expound on the Thunder stuff. 2 questions. How does a football coach at Georgia have time to even know what somebody like the Thunder's doing? Number 2, are there similarities in that you had a powerhouse going, sort of the college football was hit with rampant change 3 or 4 years ago. You've stayed great, but your dominance has slipped just because of so much parity. How difficult is it to maintain what you want to do with the changing landscape of what's going on with parity? Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, all kinds of new, Indiana, all kinds of new people are able to compete at a very high level.
I think it's great for the sport. I think having everybody competitive and having everybody to have more guys can be invited to the party and get to the party mainly through the portal in a lot of ways. Because, let's be honest, there's some footprints in some states that don't support their program through their own state. They have to go find other ways to do it, right? They've got to be great in the portal. They've got to be able to recruit nationally. And we're very fortunate in our state that we can still stay within our footprint. But each team that finds a way, it seems to be, okay, they did it through age. Okay, they did it through quarterback play. They did it. Everybody finds a way to what's their niche. And that makes the stories more interesting for you guys, right? It's not a one-team dominant program. It's really everybody. And then to your question about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the ability to, we study successful programs all the time. So if you're not studying how other people are doing it and you're just fixated on your own team and your own roster, I think you're missing out. We're always trying to grow in our program. We don't want to stay the same. So you need to study how other people are doing it and maybe the ways they're doing it and creating.
So here is our Georgia. So September 5th, Tennessee State, West Kentucky 12, September 19th, Arkansas, Oklahoma, September 26th for our football schedule. So, and let's see what else. October 3rd, Vanderbilt, October 10th, Alabama game, Auburn, October 17th, October 31st, rivalry game against Florida Gators, but we'll be playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium this year and this time. Then on November 7th, we'll face against Ole Miss, November 14th, Missouri, November 21st, South Carolina. And then our last and final home game of the regular season is going to be is against Georgia Tech. That game will all decide there. If we win that game like we did between last year, the year before. Well, before I get to say the year before, the year before,
the position I coach in my history and
it was an intense, unbelievable game.
We're just going to, no, we believe you have to run the ball in the fourth quarter.
We have not finished the game in the fourth and the last quarter.
that you lose games or you give them another.
We have
possession.
went to first
And we're gonna
overtime,
need
the
our
second
identity is gonna
overtime,
be physical,
third
we're gonna be
overtime,
physical in the
fourth
pass game, we're gonna
overtime,
be physical
fifth
on the perimeter.
overtime,
We pride ourselves in those
sixth
things as well, but
overtime,
I don't think
7
that we're
overtimes,
an
and the
anomaly or an
8th
exception. We just follow the rule of the book.
overtime.
You have to run the ball.
And we did
You have to
won
be able
the
to run the ball in
game
games.
by a
There's gonna
couple
come a time
points,
where every team
and then
has
we
to
are
do that.
heading
That means you can't
on
be
to
explosive.
play
You
in the
certainly need
SEC
to be
championship
more
game down here in
explosive.
Atlanta,
But
Georgia.
when you do a 5-year
I'm
study
hoping,
for
well,
it, you
last
look at
year we
the
didn't
numbers,
have that
Georgia's
type
been in
of
the
thing
top
like
5
that.
of all those categories. So I like to think that
I'm glad we
our
didn't.
success has come
But the year
from
before we
offense,
did, I never
defense,
seen it for the
and
first time
special
ever.
teams.
We'll go back
But
down that center aisle, 5 rows back.
This year,
Coach Nicholas at WOG in Athens.
we
Georgia.
don't know
Has
what
there been a
we
moment
do. I
this
mean, we don't know what we're
offseason
gonna
on
do.
the
But I
field
know
or
we
off the field that you think is a reflection of this
always
team
have
as a
some
whole?
great
I
SEC
wouldn't
championship
say,
appearances,
one moment,
but
no, I
we
would
do
say a
have
collective
20%
group of practices. You know, we have
chance
15, tough
to
practices in the spring.
make it to
We have
SEC
really good
championship
offseason
game down
workouts
here in
traditionally
Atlanta
early in the morning.
GA and potentially win it. But the
I'm proud of
Longhorns,
what
they got
those guys and
30%
leaders
of
have stepped
chance
forward and put out there.
of
We've got a lot of guys in
winning
good positions, a
SEC
lot of guys on
championship. But
defense having to step up
we'll
and
see
take
what
on
they
new
can
roles.
do on that
A
type
couple
of thing, but we
defensive
don't
players
even
that
know
left that
just
were,
yet until we get
maybe bigger
closer to that point.
personalities. I think offensively, we've got a good core group back. And the best part is the continuity we were able to keep through our retention. People
And,
say, "Oh, you're just a retention team,"
and
you
we'll
don't
go
believe in
on
the
from
portal.
there.
Absolutely. Our
So
most explosive offensive player last year was
I
out.
know.
Our second most explosive player on offense was out.
So our first home
So
game
we
of the
still
regular
have,
season is going to be against the
guys that we need.
Tennessee
We still
State
believe in the high school
on
philosophy. I
September the
think when you look
5th.
across the state of Georgia and you look across the NFL per capita, you know, the state of Georgia is by far and away the greatest producer of NFL talent, in my opinion, and really a 5-hour radius of our university, which includes some other
They were
states.
simply
So I
right
don't
at the
think we
end.
have to go outside that all the time to get it until we need a special player or we have a special player who has interest.
We'll go over to our far right section on the front row. Over to our right.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, 97.7 ESPN The Zone out of Huntsville. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well.
I wanted to ask about the wide receiver room in particular. One of the bigger question marks, at least that I have, how would you assess the wide receiver room heading into fall camp?
I'm just very thankful for people like you, Steve, that keep questioning them, because the more you question them, the more it helps me motivate them. So everybody says that we don't listen to you guys. Well, the wide receivers are listening, so they'll have a new challenge issued based on your question.
All right, we'll go in the section in front of me, right about 4 rows back.
Yeah, Kirby, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun, getting the Florida-Georgia game in Atlanta this year. What do you sense for the enthusiasm for the players, the coaches, the fan base, and having played a few regular season games in there, what's the regular season environment like at Mercedes-Benz, you think?
Yeah, I'm excited for that opportunity. It's a change in venue, excited for our fan base, and, you know, Florida's got a large contingent.
So look at our
fan base in
schedule.
Atlanta.
So the 5th, like I said, Tennessee
you know,
State,
I think that's more
12th,
media
Western
and
Kentucky,
deal than it
September
is
19th,
players on the
Arkansas,
team.
September
Players
26th,
are sitting back
Oklahoma,
going,
October
"Okay, we're
3rd,
playing in Atlanta
October
this year.
3rd,
What does that
Vanderbilt, October
change?"
10th, Alabama,
that's
October
the guys.
17th,
It's
Auburn.
just the
Well,
venue we're
October
playing in
31st,
will be
last day
different.
against
You
the
know,
Gators.
sometimes down
Ole
there,
Miss on
fans
November
will be
7th, Missouri on
factor
November
in all those
14th, South
things.
Carolina on
We're gonna
November
be
21st, and the
indoors
last
in
game
an incredible stadium.
against Georgia Tech on November
We've gotten to play
28th
multiple times. So
on
I'm
the
excited for
week
the opportunity
of
to change,
the
you know,
Thanksgiving
back down
holiday.
here the
You know,
following year in another
we always keep beating Georgia Tech
The section in front of me.
all the time, because that case for our team to win it and then make it onto the SEC championship game. So I'm sure we'll do great this upcoming season, and I am so lucky to watch
Yeah, you said that.
some of the
It's a tough
games
place
on
to play, and,
TV.
tough team to play. I got a lot of respect for Josh and their staff. I mean, they're a tough prep. They're really hard to prepare for, and I'm glad other teams get an opportunity to do that because they get some new teams to play, and then we get some new teams to play. So very unique scheduling. Looking forward to the new format and the matchups that are created through the new format.
If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. We've got one back behind us. Patrick, if you'll go back and get that one on the right-hand side on the aisle.
Hey, Coach, Eddie Pels from AP. I know you said you don't want to talk about the landscape, but given the landscape, how that impacts program building and predictability, does that make what does that do to your job, I guess?
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not avoiding the talk about landscape. I'm only saying that I think it's the position I'm in. It's the veteran SEC remaining coach. I don't mind talking or speaking to it. All I'm saying is that events like this, it eats the air and takes away from what actually wins and loses football games. I respect the fact that the landscape matters. And I do think that it matters the position that the senior veteran coaches across the country take. Okay. Now with that, I need that question again.
Well, talk about the landscape however you want, but how does it impact a coach's ability to produce a program, basically?
Right.
You know, especially when you don't know what's going to be going on in 3 years or 3 months.
Yeah, I don't know that we knew that 10 years ago. We didn't know what was going to be going on 3 years. It's changing more rapid, yes. Okay. But what wins football game has not changed. Has the role of the head coach changed? If you want it to, it can. You can be as involved in offense, defense, and coaching and remove yourself from all this changing landscape. Or you can dive over here and spend your time over here in the changing landscape and try to navigate it better and let your coaches coach. Each coach has to decide within their own program what they want to major in. Because you cannot sit back, let's call it 8 years ago, 6 years ago, pre-COVID, I would say, and say that I'm just going to do this. Okay, I'm going to focus on this and just do this. You've got to be able to wear multiple hats, more than I ever imagined. Okay, but you got to choose which hats you want to wear the best. And maybe that's dictated by the strength of your staff, right? Like if you've got really strong continuity and coaches and X and O's and schemes and recruiters, then you go focus on the relationships with the players. You go focus on maybe raising money and doing things with donors. You have to choose what you want to. And I think that's the strength of our program. I'm not afraid to change what we need to change to be successful. And if I need to spend more time with one player because he plays harder and less time with the offensive staff or the offensive coordinator, the defensive staff or the special team, I'm willing to do that. I don't have an ego that says you have to do it my way. I want to hear how you want to do it, and let's find the best way. But what I am worried about is what kind of product do we put on the field in terms of physicality, toughness, all those things, how we practice. That's non-negotiables for me. The landscape piece, that's kind of over here on the side. And if you get really lost and caught up in landscape and you're constantly arguing and fussing and complaining and tweeting and doing all that, guess what you're not worried about? What matters. And we're going to worry about what matters first in our place.
Coach, we'll go back in the section in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back.
Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution coach. You've won the last 2 SEC championship games, and yet there's a perception that maybe Georgia's not where it used to be because of the college football playoff. How do you put into perspective your conference success measured against how people are now evaluating college football based strictly on the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't know that I can put that in perspective. I'll leave that to you guys. I think you forget that we also lost to an SEC team within the playoffs. So it's another tribute to the fact we won the SEC because we beat that team, and then we won the SEC championship, and then we turned around and lost to an SEC team that was a really good football team and obviously one of the top 4 teams in the country, especially at the end of the year with the way they were playing. So I don't get hung up a lot on just the finish. I like to look back and say, okay, what did we do well in those games and what did we do poorly and how do we improve on it? But that's no different than I do week 5, week 6, week 7. So I would love to see, and I don't make it as an excuse, but I would love to see the flow of the season go like a football, a week to week, maybe a bye week somewhere in there, but a continuous thing. No sport that I know of shuts down for 25 to 30 days between performances. And, you know, we have not had our best performances when we needed them most. And I don't want to blame it on that. I would love to see the flow of a season be like, okay, which team is the strongest continually playing and going week to week? And we've got some opportunities to do that in the future. I hope we can get to that point. But the format we play with now is great. I have no problem. When it was a 2-team format, I was part of it. When it was 4-team, I was part of it. You can always argue the opposite, especially if it doesn't go your way. That's not who I am.
We'll take one final question in this section in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back.
Kirby. Connor O'Gara, the OG Kickoff with the next round. A non-landscape question for you. How should we in the media talk about Mike Bobo?
You know, I don't think that's my decision. I look at things through facts, and I look at things through what I see with my own 2 eyes. I was blessed to work for the greatest college football coach in the history of all of college football, and I don't even think it's arguable. arguably, I don't think you can even debate it. But I learned from him that you evaluate things from inside out. And I do think football intuition is one of my strengths. And knowing that, I know we got the right offensive coordinator. What you guys want to write and talk about is completely up to you, because I look at the production he's had, the success he's had, the team success where he doesn't worry about stats. He worries about winning football games. And the way he coaches our players day to day is unmatched in this country.
Coach Smart, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, guys, and go Dogs.
All right, we're going to see him and his team in the upcoming
Kirby
season.
Smart finishing up on the podium as he'll continue to make his way through the JW here in Tampa, continuing day 2 of SEC Media Days. Let's talk about some of what we just heard, and I want to specifically start with a question about wide receivers. I loved Kirby's answer when he said, yeah, keep questioning those guys. I want to use that
That's
as
from
fuel.
Kirby
And we
Smart,
were
and
out
head
here
coach for the
talking about a
football team for the
particular
Georgia
transfer,
Bulldogs.
Dusty, who you saw a couple times last year is going to be in the black and red this year.
Yeah, from Georgia Tech, and it's Isaiah Canyon, and he's got size, man. He's 6'4", he's 215. He can really go up and get the football. I didn't think in the system for Buster Faulkner, given Haynes King's limitations as a passer, you got to see a full complement of what Isaiah Canyon is capable of. I think we'll see that in this Mike Bobo offense, and I think that Gunnar Stockton's going to have a legit outside target to distribute the football to. So London Humphreys comes back at wide receiver. I think you start there. They're going to need a Taylon Taylor to step up, the speedster who was banged up as a freshman last year. But I really think Isaiah Canyon, he's a Sunday-type player. I think he could be a potential game changer for this offense, Greg.
You know, it's funny. When you listen to him, you could go back and we could teleport to 2016, his first year, and the message remains the same, albeit the foundation that college football is built on is very different. The same thing wins that always wins. It's a famous line from Bear Bryant. I mean, it's blocking, tackling, being physical, being tough. All those things still continue to win. Being efficient at quarterback. Everyone wants to talk about with Georgia. For whatever reason, we're all guilty of it because we hold them to a higher standard. It's probably not fair, but we saw them take the field in 21. We saw them take the field in 22. And when you're an elite program, you're not measured against the rest of college football. You're measured against the best version of you. 21 and 22 are not being recreated. You can't have a roster like that anymore because your backups get taken and they become starters elsewhere. So we need to move on from that era. Instead of nitpicking what Georgia doesn't do, how about we focus on what they do? They've stopped the run better than anybody and have for a decade. They are extremely efficient offensively. They continue to recruit at a ridiculously high level. They're amazing along both lines of scrimmage, albeit last year maybe didn't have the take over the game pass rusher. They found it with scheme late in the year. And this is a really, really good staff as well that knows how to fix problems. So I love Georgia coming into this year. I think they're the safest pick in the SEC on an annual basis. And as long as Kirby Smart's there and continues to preach the same things that win that always won, they're going to be in the mix to win not just SEC titles, but national titles again here very soon.
Yeah, it's so funny to listen to you say that, G-Mac, because I kept hearing him say the word toughness.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that just flows out of his mouth, but it's not rhetoric. Like, that's what they're built on. You know, I've been in the building. I've been to practices. I say this all the time, but if you're going to play at Georgia, it's 4th and 1 every day when you walk in the building.
Yeah,
and if
I
you don't
love
like
that.
it ain't for you.
Love that.
And that was his message. We're going to win like we've always won. We're going to win time of possession. We're going to run the football. We're going to stop the run. We're going to play great in the red zone on defense. We're going to play great on third down. All of those things, yeah. You can make a case that there were some shortcomings last year. Dusty, you mentioned it earlier, right? Did they get enough sacks? 20, no. By comparison, the national champion, they ended up getting 39 sacks, right? So you got to be able to create negative plays. You can look at the wide receiver group. Yeah, that's a mass exodus. What are they going to do? But he's the right dude to fix it. He knows all the questions.
Yeah.
He knows how to fix it, but he's not changing how he does it.
Right.
And that was the message that resonates with him. How many times do you hear him use the word elite? I sat in on team meetings. He talks to those players about being elite in everything you do. What does that mean? That means you're different than everybody else. They haven't been elite since 2022. They've been really, really good. His goal is to somehow bridge the gap and get back to being elite. Indiana, in my opinion, they were elite. They didn't have any weaknesses. That's where they got to get to, and they're close.
Yeah, and I don't think we can emphasize it enough. GMAC, you nailed it. We're measuring Georgia against Georgia. The eliteness that Georgia raised the bar to in the SEC over the last couple of years, of course we're going to measure them against that because we know that that's where they can go. Speaking of the intense practices, if you've ever walked around and heard the megaphone going in Athens, you know exactly why toughness is important for Kirby Smart. We're going to continue this conversation when we come back. Can Georgia win another SEC championship? Yeah, it hasn't been elite, but they're reigning champions of this league, and they made it to yet another playoff a season ago. Can they get further in 2026? We'll talk about those three gentlemen, including that quarterback on the right, Gunnar Stockton, what he needs to do to take the next step this year.
We'll interview with the football players right after this.
Fellas.